Hi, my name is Andrea Mahalik, and today I'm going to demonstrate the art of knitting. I'm going to show 3 different techniques, basically the casting on, the knit stitch, and the purl stitch. Before we begin, there are several things that you need to have. You need to have your knitting needles, and they come in various shapes and sizes. You have like a measuring guide to measure your stitches. You have stitch holders in different sizes. Maybe you need to take stitches off. And there's also the different types of yarn. We have like your fluffy yarn, like here, or regular yarn. Today we're just going to use regular yarn because there's various different weights. So to start off, take your yarn, you do a little slip knot. Then you take your needle, put it through the loop. You take your second needle, you slide it to the back of the stitch, or the loop. You wrap around the back of that bottom needle, you pull the loop off, and then you slip it on to the next, you slip it back on the other needle. And you do that several times. And like if I'm knitting just a scarf, I'll use bigger needles, and you just cast on about 20 stitches. So this here is about, I'll cast on about 10 stitches. Here's 5. That's pretty much shows you how to cast on. But that's how you have to start each project. Then after you've cast it on, then you'll want to do the knit stitch. Now the knit stitch is very similar to casting on. You put the needle into the loop behind, you wrap the yarn around, slide it through, but instead of putting it on the needle, you slide the loop off the needle. So then you just do that for several stitches, and that's how you have the knit stitch. So behind, loop around, slide it onto the right needle and off the left. On the right and off the left. And that gives you, if you've ever looked at different garments and you see on the front of the, say it's a sweater, the X's, all the little X's pattern is the actual knit stitch. And when you see the back side, that looks like the purl. It's got like a bubble, and that's the knit stitch. I'll show you here a second. Okay, if you look at this real closely, if you look at this side, you'll see the little X's. And if you look at this side, you see the little ribbed edge. And so once you flip it over, you're on the purl side. So to purl, it's the same as the knit, except instead of going behind the needle like this, you are behind the yarn and the needle, you go in front of the yarn and the needle. You wrap it around, slip it off, onto the right needle and off the left. So it's the same thing, except the needle goes in front. And you have to make sure you wrap the yarn the exact same way around the needle each time, because if you don't, it will mess up. So those are the basics of knitting. It's fairly simple, but as you do it on a regular basis, it gets a lot easier. Some people knit really tight and other people knit really loose. For example, I'm a tight knitter, so the things I do are a little tighter. This is a sweater I'm knitting. It has a different pattern. It's 2 different types of yarn. I have the colored yarn and then a solid yarn. This is also something I'm knitting. It's a scarf, but it's with the cool fluffy yarn. And this is just a knit stitch back and forth because you can't see the stitches, so it's easier just to knit. And here's a couple of scarves I've knitted. I've knitted this black one with this cool yarn, but it's really hard to knit with if you're a new knitter. And then this purple one, since purple's my favorite color. But that's pretty much it for the knitting. I hope you enjoyed that. You have a nice day. Bye-bye.